Hey, well, listen, for this next episode, I know I've been gone for a while, and I typically like to do World of Darkness videos, especially whenever I've been gone for a while, because I know people love them, but I'll be 100% honest, I don't know if I should be covering this one. Now, the reason I say this is, you all know that I'm a huge World of Darkness fan, for most of the games, and whenever you are a World of Darkness fan that has so many games out there, you tend to have, your favorites. Well, one of my favorites is Hunter the Reckoning, a video that I've done recently. And today's video, if you could obviously see in the bottom of this video, is Hunter the Vigil. And I'll be 100% honest, I don't think that I can review this objectively, because I love Hunter the Reckoning so much, and so whenever Hunter the Vigil comes out, its spiritual successor, I can't help but see all of the ways that Hunter the Reckoning is better than Hunter the Vigil. So, I think for the sake of myself trying to cover all that there is about role-playing games, especially World of Darkness games, I think I'm definitely still going to cover Hunter the Vigil today, obviously, or else this video would not exist, but I definitely want you all to be aware that what I have to say on this topic is definitely going to be skewed. It's just a fact of life. I have my personal favorites, and no matter how well I think that Hunter the Vigil is, it's still always going to be viewed negatively due to my extreme love for Hunter the Reckoning. So, with that said, we're going to go back to the couch, we're going to restart our Critter Miss after my little sabbatical dealing with my other academic pursuits. So please, once again, please keep in mind that whenever we're doing this video, it is definitely, the review should definitely be taken with a huge grain of salt.
Lights top when you're in PC. Lights rock when you depend on me to give you weapons and information for your journey and still you still pushing and trying to hurt me. Lights top when you're in PC. Lights rock.
Alright, God help me. I'm on the couch. Let's do this. Just, I said it in the intro. I'm going to say it again, that whenever it comes to Hunter the Vigil, you're going to need to take this with a huge grain of salt, because I am such a huge fan of Hunter the Reckoning, which makes being objective and impartial a very difficult process. If you want a full review of Hunter the Reckoning, I suggest you look at my video that I posted a few weeks ago. But, no joke, it is probably my favorite World of Darkness game next to Vampire the Masquerade. And, I'll be honest, Hunter is constantly fighting for that spot, legitimately, between Hunter and Vampire, the flagship game of World of Darkness. The entire concept of Reckoning is just brilliant in my opinion. The humans, the children of Seth, if you want to put it into vampire terms, finally get some champions in the world where humans are kind of chucked around constantly by these supernatural forces. They even have powers to just tell some creatures to fuck right off. But they are so disorganized, and things went so fucky for them that they have no idea what they're doing and how they're actually going to do it. The champions of humans run the gamut also, from arsonists, wardens, book nerds, hippies, and proto-alt-right supporters of bombing abortion clinics in the name of God. It is truly a fucked moment for the humans just as they were about to get something good. Everything once again goes to shit. See, once again, I just spent the start of this video actually gushing over Hunter the Reckoning, talking about all the things that I like, and I already did a video on it. And the best thing that I can say from my perspective of Hunter the Vigil is, it's okay. So yeah, Hunter the Vigil is part of the New World of Darkness line that gave us Vampire the Requiem, Werewolf the Forsaken, Changeling Lost, and so forth, and is still going on to this day with a recent publication about to come out. A series that has definitely, though, had its fair share of ups and downs, especially when compared to their predecessors. So yeah, if you want praise for this series of games, definitely run over to my Changeling Lost video, where I essentially say that it is one of the greatest games of all time, definitely the greatest game in the New World of Darkness line. If you want to hear pure hatred bile spewing out of my mouth, go watch one of the first videos I ever made, Beast the Primordial, in which I tear that one a new one. Now, whenever it comes to like old World of Darkness games, my ideas on them have tended to be a little bit more easier. I tend to, even the ones that get misses, tend to be getting favorable misses, such as like Demon the Fallen. However, whenever it comes to New World of Darkness, there's definitely a standard deviation kind of going on here. And whenever it comes to that, you have like the really bad, the really good, and Hunter the Vigil for me is kind of sitting at the top of that nice little bell curve of just average. Automatically, even with the advertisement of this game, Hunter the Vigil sets itself apart from the source material. It's similar to Changeling Lost, which took a very interesting approach in that it took the general concept of Changeling and Hunter and then completely reworked it, coming at it from very, very different angles. As opposed to these quasi-superheroes who found little benefit in the internet, Hunters have been mashed together with non-imbued hunters from World of Darkness, like the Society of Leopold, and have sort of like a Van Helsing, Matrix, Goth sort of thing going on in their aesthetics. Instantly, this game just sets itself apart from Hunter the Reckoning in a complete organizational standpoint. For Hunter the Reckoning, it was very much that everything was chaos, there was disorder everywhere, and you only had like little smatterings of organizations that sort of formed after the initial like imbuing happened. But when it comes to Hunter the Vigil is nothing but organizations tiered in varieties of like how they're organized, from kind of like local level hunter groups that just kind of defend their own hometowns to massive organizations which include like Task Force Valkyrie, which is like this giant government entity, as well as occult organizations or like the Catholic Church. There's definitely like this tiered system that's very organized, like very, very organized from the bottom to the top. Just it might have like I don't even say it has a semblance of a pyramid. It has a semblance of just a rectangle of organization at different levels and kind of what they're trying to accomplish at different levels. The game focuses way less on superpowers as well. Most of the Hunter groups don't actually have superpowers. Actually, whenever it comes to Hunter, they have a little bit more with the Hunter H20 game that came out that was much more focused on the Society of Leopold than it does Hunter the Reckoning. Most of their fight comes down just to good old-fashioned smarts, guns, swords, and having the willpower and tactics necessary to not die when toe-to-toe with a werewolf or a vampire. This one kind of definitely reminds me of, it's trying to capture all of the Hunter aspects that you'll see in this world, and actually this is probably where I'm going to give the most praise for the game, is that you can kind of do whatever Hunter sort of game that you want. If you actually kind of still want that little semi-cohesive group, you can do local hunters. If you want to be a part of this giant, sweeping organization that's been around forever, you can go with one of the big, more organized groups. So I think that definitely with Hunter, they try to capture things like Van Helsing, like Supernatural, just these various Hunter sort of stories, and they try to combine them all into one giant game that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. So this is definitely probably where I'm going to give the most praise for this game, in that it's definitely a lot more utility. You can kind of do what you want to do with hunters in this game that you couldn't really do in Hunter the Reckoning. Like I said, I understand there's a lot of good in this game, and I think the best that I can say about this is that it certainly is different from Hunter the Reckoning, and is definitely could be enjoyed depending upon what kind of Hunter story you want to tell. Unlike Hunter the Reckoning, that is very, very focused, Hunter the Vigil allows you to do damn near what you want in a World of Darkness system, which once again, I will say, as I've said in other videos, the new World of Darkness system is better than the old one and is one of the best systems out there. A combination of the two is going to give you a great experience. Hell, I've even been a part of several Hunter games that I found very fulfilling, very enjoyable. So I really want you to keep this in mind whenever I start talking about some of the things I don't like here, is that this game is still a pretty good game, and especially if you're a fan of it, you're going to have a great time with it. So I don't take umbrage with this game as I do with something like Beast the Primordial, which I find to be a legitimately very, very bad game. But the umbrage that I am going to take with this game is whenever I'm comparing it to Hunter the Reckoning, this game gets dragged down so hard by its source material, to the point where the flaws of the game become much more apparent, and Hunter the Reckoning's praises just kind of get amplified. First and foremost is the story itself and how the story is told. Hunter the Vigil is your Hollywood definition of a hunter. Most of them are well-trained killing machines who have honed their skills to take on creatures that lurk in the night. Hunter the Reckoning, on the other hand, is about everyday people suddenly being given powers to go either kill or confront supernatural creatures. It isn't famed vampire killer going out and taking on the forces in the night like she has been trained to do since she was a little kid. This is just some Joe Nobody accountant sitting in their desk and suddenly realize that their boss is a vampire and he has to do something about it. There is a lot more weight whenever you're talking about a Hunter the Reckoning game over a Hunter the Vigil game, in which the Vigil character's entire life is dedicated to fighting creatures. The Reckoning character one day is buying coffee in line and now has to go and kill zombies that are currently attacking someone in an alleyway, and then after that they still have to pick up their kids from school and try to balance their lives between being a hunter as well as being just the regular nobody. Now, that isn't to say that in Hunter the Reckoning you can't have an experienced werewolf killer that suddenly gets these powers, in the same way that you can still play Hunter the Vigil and still have a group of Joe Nobodies suddenly decide that they need to go and fight vampires that are in their town. So keep that in mind, that yes, you can have both in both games. However, this is mainly where the games kind of push you towards. Hunter the Vigil is definitely much more organized. It's pushing you much more towards Hollywood concepts of a hunter. Hunter the Reckoning is much more pushing you towards the Joe Nobodies suddenly thrust into a position that they are not trained nor equipped to really fight. So whenever you compare the two that the games tend to push for, one tends to be, I think, a cooler concept over the other, and it's Hunter the Reckoning, because of just the stakes that are involved. There is a story there, and a rough story at that has several layers to it when it comes to Hunter. You have to balance regular life while essentially being a superhero. Worse yet, the people who are working with may be completely different walks of life than you, and completely butt heads at any moment. The Hunter the Reckoning story of the prison in which the warden and two guards are imbued next to a rapist, an arsonist, and a thief creates an unbreakable bond between the six who really don't want to work together. That has so much more stakes and story to it than a bunch of like-minded hunters in an organization going out and hunting for the common good, or just because they're hunters and that's what they do. And then we have organizations, which is an entirely different concept between the two games. Hunter the Reckoning's entire thing is built on chaos. The supposed leaders and communicators got screwed over during the imbuing process, leaving the rest of the hunters essentially up shit creek without a paddle. The only thing that they had on their side was the hunter net to organize them, and even that proved to be a huge, painful process that didn't exactly work out. If the hunters were organized, they would be unstoppable against the supernaturals, considering the power that they wielded at their disposal. how each of their powers was able to either kill or rehabilitate. However, dysfunction was their essential downfall, and would remain their downfall throughout the series. Hunter the Vigil is all about organization, and quite frankly, their fighting style is not going to have some long-lasting change if they ever really got some serious upper hand. All of these Hunter organizations can potentially work together. They tend not to. They tend to work within their own means, make a small dent in vampires and werewolves and so forth, and at the end of the day, they continue their existence, and it continues to be this sort of proto-Cold War between supernaturals and hunters. Overall, I think that Hunter the Reckoning has better story and better stakes. Hunter the Vigil has a set structure, and the universe is somewhat stagnant. Hunters exist in this world, and they function just like any supernatural. They have their organization and politics, and that is the bottom line. Hunter the Reckoning, on the other hand, is nothing but chaos, and that is fucking great. Nobody knows what to do with or how to deal with them, even themselves. There's a lot more open to the story there, and hunters can either flame out and disappear, or these imbued can rise above and save the day. They have the power to make real, lasting change in this world. It opens itself up to so many stories depending upon how you want to build it. Instead, Hunter the Vigil exists, and maybe one organization kind of gets a little bit of a push against the supernatural forces, but they still just exist year to year with supernaturals, and it tends to just fight it out like any other time. Bottom line, Hunter the Vigil is different from Hunter the Reckoning. It's easy to say. They're both very different concepts. They both have different stakes, they have different ways of doing things, and once again, if you are a fan of Hunter the Vigil, then don't take this as some slight. I still think the game is good. However, whenever you compare it to its predecessor, it keeps getting dragged down and down. And at the end of the day, I'm going to give this a miss. I'm biased. I know I am. I know 100% that this is because I love Hunter the Reckoning so much more. And I'm sorry to say it, but at the end of the day, I still have to give it a miss for being an inferior game, in my opinion, that gets dragged down and makes this other game so much more appealing to play. So, thank you all so much for watching, and please keep in mind, as I've said multiple times in this video, this miss might not be representative of the game itself, but considering my love for Hunter the Reckoning, it just makes sense for me to give a miss. So, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and I hope you all have a good one.